Shalom, everyone. This is going to be like a 4-part video, and I'm going to do it a little bit different today than I normally do stuff. Just because we're talking about the Atlantic slave trade and the 2019 prophecy that's going on around. Me personally, I know that either A, the 400 years has already passed, or the 400 years is coming to pass. But if we look at history and even prophecy, the Atlantic slave trade or transatlantic slave trade involved the transportation by slave traders of enslaved African people, mainly to the Americas. The slave trade regularly used the triangular trade route and its middle passage and existed from the 16th to the 19th centuries. The vast majority of those who were enslaved and transported in the transatlantic slave trade were people from Central and Western Africa, who had been sold by other West Africans to Western European slave traders, with a small number being captured directly by the slave traders in coastal raids who brought them to the Americas. The South Atlantic and Caribbean economies somebody was trying to call economies especially were dependent on the supply of secure labor and the production of commodity crops, making goods and clothing to sell in Europe. This was crucial to those Western European countries, which in the late 17th and 18th centuries were VYING, I think that's a typo, with each other to create overseas empires. The Portuguese were the first to engage in the Atlantic slave trade in the 16th century in 1526. The Portuguese were the first to engage in the Atlantic slave trade in the 16th century. In 1526, they completed the first transatlantic slave voyage to Brazil, and other European countries soon followed. Ship owners regarded the slaves as cargo to be transported to the Americas as quickly and cheaply as possible. There to be sold to work on coffee, tobacco, cocoa, sugar, and cotton plantations, gold and silver mines, rice fields, construction industry, cutting timber for ships in skilled labor, and as domestic servants. The first Africans imported to the English colonies were classified as indentured servants, like workers coming from England, and also as apprentices for life. Those words still exist to this day, apprentices and skilled labor. So, slavery still is going on, just in a different mindset, if you will. Okay, by the middle of the 17th century, slavery had hardened as a racial caste, with the slaves and their offspring being legally the property of their owners, and children born to slave mothers were also slaves as property. Hence, birth certificates and social security cards. The people were considered merchandise or units of labor and were sold at markets with other goods and services. And also you can check out the Roman canon laws and all that stuff, and how religion plays into that with the Romans and the Greeks and all them different peoples, Knights Templar and stuff. Like, all this stuff goes together. It really does. The major Atlantic slave trading nations ordered by trade volume were the Portuguese, the British, the French, the Spanish, and the Dutch empires. Several had established outposts on the African coast where they purchased slaves from local African leaders. These slaves were managed by a factor who was established on or near the coast to expedite the shipping of slaves to the New World. Slaves were kept in a factory while waiting shipment. Current estimates are that about 12 million Africans were shipped across the Atlantic, although the number purchased by the traders were considerably higher as the passage and a high death rate near the beginning of the 19th century. Various governments acted to ban the trade. Although legal smuggling still occurred in the early 21st century, several governments issued apologies for the transatlantic slave trade. As if apologies is just gonna be that easy, right? All right. It's a lot of reading. Don't know if I want to read all this. Okay, the Atlantic slave trade developed after trade contacts were established between the Old World, Afro-Eurasia, and the New World, the Americas. For centuries, tidal currents had made ocean travel particularly difficult and risky for the ships that were then available. And as such, there had been very little, if any, maritime contact between the peoples living in these continents. Mariner Admiralty Maritime Law. In the 15th century, however, new European developments in seafaring technologies resulted in ships being better equipped to deal with the tidal currents and could begin traversing the Atlantic Ocean between 1600 and 1800. Approximately 300,000 sailors engaged in the slave trade visited Africa. In doing so, they came into contact with societies living along the West African coast and in the Americas, which they had never previously encountered. Historian Pierre Chanot termed the consequences of European navigation disenclavement, with it marking an end of isolation for some societies and an increase in intersocietal contact for most others. Historian John Thornton noted a number of technical and geographical factors combined to make Europeans the most likely people to explore the Atlantic and develop its commerce. He identified these as being the drive to find new and profitable commercial opportunities outside Europe, as well as the desire to create an alternative trade network so that controlled by the Muslim Empire of the Middle East, which was viewed as a commercial, political, and religious threat to European Christendom. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Oh boy. Leftovers. Come on, you suck. Anyway, and again, this is nothing against anybody who's Greek or Roman or what you call European, okay? White woman confesses that Jesus is black. Where is she? Where are you? Of course, it's gonna shut off. We're just gonna get a couple confessions here. Again, I'm not doing the colorisms and stuff like that with people. None of that. I'm just stating the facts and providing the proper evidences that are needed for the proper persuasion and reality of truth right there.
The gig is up. I'm not the real Jesus. As a matter of fact, the fella's name wasn't even Jesus. He had a Hebrew name. There wasn't a letter J until a few hundred years ago. With that being said, I have fooled the whole world into the biggest sham of all time. The name and identity of the real fella has been taken over by me. There are thousands of paintings of Jesus, and they don't even come close. Which served to replace the real fella, who probably looked more like Morgan Freeman. But who cares? The truth doesn't matter, as long as you pay your tithes. Gotcha.
It's pretty jacked up. I don't know if y'all can see the picture or not, but I just want to play that one more time.
I mean,
I think I got it.
Hey guys, the gig is up. I'm not the real Jesus. As a matter of fact, the fella's name wasn't even Jesus. He had a Hebrew name. There wasn't a letter J until a few hundred years ago. With that being said, I have fooled the whole world into the biggest sham of all time. The name and identity of the real fella has been taken over by me. There are thousands of paintings of Jesus, and they don't even come close. Which served to replace the real fella, who probably looked more like Morgan Freeman. But who cares? The truth doesn't matter, as long as you pay your tithes. Gotcha.
I'm sorry, his acting. His acting is funny. But it's real, you know. Caesar Borgia, which was Leonardo da Vinci's homosexual lover. And that shield with the cross on it stands for the Knights Templar.
Many of us in America grew up with a fair-skinned, flaxen-haired image of Jesus.
But Jesus came from Judea, so what did he actually look like?
Happy holidays, everyone. Julia and Trace here from D News. It's that time of year again where billions of people around the world celebrate the birth of the Christian prophet Jesus. From stained glass glowing in church windows to nativity scenes sprawled across suburban lawns, images of Jesus are hard to miss. But how close to reality is what we see?
Since the Bible doesn't explicitly describe Jesus' appearance, no one really knows what he looked like. The earliest images researchers have found are from at least 200 years after he died, so it's pretty much left to artists' interpretation.
Right. Early Christians allegorically portrayed Jesus as a young good shepherd to hide his identity since Christianity was forbidden. In the 3rd century, he appeared like the Greek god Helios, and later on he takes on a more serious look called a pantocrator with long hair and a beard. But the most familiar Jesus appeared during the Renaissance, when artists started to show Jesus' human side like Rembrandt, and that's how we see him today.
But rather than art, anthropology can tell us a bit about what he could have looked like for real. For example, in most depictions of Jesus, he has long hair, but that's not entirely accurate according to physical anthropologist Josias. Jewish men around the time of Jesus' life had short hair as a way to distinguish themselves from Romans and other groups. Using anthropological knowledge from excavations of Jerusalem, forensic anthropologist Richard Neve, a medical artist retired from the University of Manchester in England, created a mock-up of what Jesus maybe looked like.
Neve spent his career recreating ancient faces, and a study published in the journal Forensic Science, Medicine, and Pathology showed that 67% of features like nose, eyes, jawline, forehead, and chin could be reconstructed only from the data gleaned from skulls. The mouth and ear shape, however, are basically up for artistic interpretation, according to a study published in the Journal of Anatomy.
He compiled 3 different skulls found in Jerusalem that date from the time of Jesus. Using 3D scanning technology, Neve and his team were able to capture the fine details of the surface of those skulls.
While yes, everyone has the same basic number of bones and muscles, small variations in the shape, size, and relative positions of facial muscles changes from person to person.
And the way these muscles attach to the skull leaves details in the bone. To reconstruct this face, forensic anthropologists used a computer algorithm to find out the thickness and placement of those facial muscles. From there, they could tell the typical distance from skull to muscle.
This is where the artistic license comes in. Once they know the placement and thickness, researchers can add clay onto 3D printed reconstructed skulls in an attempt to mimic the look of those muscles. And finally, they'll cover the muscles with a thin layer of clay skin, and details like skin color and eye color were added at the artist's discretion.
Forensic experts do this all the time, in most cases for identification of a deceased victim who is far too damaged or decomposed for a family member to identify. But anthropologists use this technique too, to bring back the dead from hundreds or thousands of years ago. This has been done with King Richard III, Mary, Queen of Scots, or a 5,000-year-old Neolithic man. This might just be the closest Jesus we've seen to the real one.
I know, it's not exactly what you're expecting. To be fair, this is really just a recreation of what a typical man who lived during Jesus' time and in the same geographical area might have looked like. And forensic facial reconstruction does take some artistic liberties. But still, Allison Galloway, professor of anthropology at the University of California in Santa Cruz, told Popular Mechanics this is probably a lot closer to the truth than the work of many great masters. Maybe we should learn to be okay that all we have left of Jesus are the stories and the messages he preached.
Just like Jesus practiced a policy of mercy, Pope Francis declared the next year the year of Jubilee of mercy. To find out more about that, check out this video from our friends over at Seeker Daily, right here.
And this tradition actually dates back thousands of years before Christian times. In ancient Israel, the year of Jubilee marked a time when slaves were let free, property was returned to its rightful owner, and debts were forgiven.
So what do you think Jesus looked like? Or do you have a favorite interpretation from history? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below and keep coming back to D News so you don't miss a single episode.
Okay, so this is the thing that I have with Europeans, with the House of Rothschild, the Ashkenazi, Yiddish, Jewish converts, or converts to Judaism, you know, French and all that stuff. Just the region where Yahusha was born, the Hebrew name is Yahusha, and Yahuwah, or some would say Yahawashai or Yahaya. It does matter, and I've got confirmation on that. It does matter. The Israelites or the Hebrews were not white. They were not pale skinned. They were of my color and darker. You know, they were melanated skin. Their hair was like wool, you know, like sheep's wool. There are sheeps that have my type of hair, literally, you know, literally. It's like wool. He was not white, at all. Here's something. I'm not saying he looked exactly like this, but I know he was black. And we're going to go over a number of scriptures with that too, because all this plays into the same thing, dealing with religions, the transatlantic slave trade, the symbols of the cross, and the 2019 stuff that's going on. And, okay, so let's go to this real quick.
Diamond in the back, sun rooftop. Digging the scene with the gangster lean, ain't no half-stepping. Marcus J, y'all, we back. Thank you for staying with us and indulging our silly. We appreciate 804-402-2893 to be down.
The word Yahushua
Flagship show heard right here on Legacy Internet Radio
means
single Monday night
Joshua
until we finish talking to
in
y'all
Hebrew.
asses. We usually finish between 9:30 and 10, but who knows? We might just keep on talking. If y'all listening, we talking. And we appreciate it. 804-402-2893. Be down with us.
Trying to find that one simple video that is just...
What the hell is continuing here? And we're going to run through a couple of these real quick. We're not going to stay in this segment.
Oh, go back. Go back. Go back.
I want to get to JR. You finna be a daddy. And I said, finna. S-Y. Finna. You finna be.
You finna what? Just see if I can provide some evidences for y'all.
Welcome to the Advice Show, media with the common sense approach. So there's a man that I saw on Facebook, and he stated that he was a former racist, and he had made a video stating why some, not all, white people have a great fear of black people.
And I've watched this guy's video before, and he anyways.
Well, it's me, I'm back again, here to talk about fear.
pride, arrogance, narcissism, all that good stuff. So what is it that stops so many white people from wanting to change their hearts in regards to race and wanting to see the reality and come out of denial? What is it that keeps us stuck right there in that comfortable position of untruth? Well, I think part of it is fear. Another part of it is greed. Greed in that we don't want to lose dominance. We don't want to lose power. We don't want to lose privileges. We don't want to lose benefits that the system of white supremacy has created here in America for white people. We don't want to lose none of it. We're scared. We're scared of black retribution. We're scared of black vengeance. We're scared shitless, and we always have been. Since day one, we put our hands on black people. Grabbed them, snatched them up, put them on a boat, and made them our own fucking personal slaves and assistants for no pay. We did all that. You goddamn right, we're scared. We're scared of losing what we got. We're scared of losing our positions. And we're scared of retribution. So we got a lot of fucking fear, man. Yeah, we do. You hear me, white brothers and sisters? A lot of fucking fear. We're scared. We always have been. You see a black man walk down the street, you lock your doors, you check making sure he ain't gonna hurt you, you clutch your purse. We're scared. So what we do? Lock them up, throw them in jail. World's largest prison population of black folks right now. It's right here in this fucking country. Wonder why? We're fucking scared. Even the fucking police officers, the coward police officers that kill unarmed black people are scared. We're scared of that retribution, scared of that black vengeance. And then we project, then we pretend and project that black people are as racist as white people. Who the fuck ever taught a black person black supremacy? The first thing a fucking black person learns is why it's wrong to be a supremacist. They deal with that shit their whole fucking life. Why the fuck would they want them to act supreme? I ain't never heard a black person go around acting superior because of the color of their skin. If anything, they do the opposite. It's white people that are taught. I ain't saying black people can't hate. I ain't saying black people can't be angry. But hell, if they...
Forgive me. I'm sorry. It's just the way he talked and the way he did it with such emphasis. Who the... Like, where you get that from?
Hate produce. It's an anger that anger produced from white supremacy, a culture and a system of white supremacy. So yeah, black people are angry. Some of them, not all of them, some of them.
Preach.
The point is, face your fear, face your greed, so that we can fucking have a more peaceful country, a more peaceful world. Until white people face that greed that they have. Oh, I gotta be on top. I gotta keep my white privilege. Oh God, I'm scared that the black people gonna kill me. They gonna come get me. They gonna snatch me up the way we did them. They gonna do all that dirty shit to me that white people have done to them. Stop being so fucking scared, man. Man up, woman up. Let's face reality. White supremacy is real. Our country is a country of white fucking supremacy. Yes, sir, it is. It always has been. Let's face it. Let's do something about it. Let's take some fucking responsibility. Act up, speak up, vote. Do what you gotta do. Be active. Protest. Get in the fucking streets. White people have to change their fucking culture of white supremacy. If we don't, it will destroy us all, and it already is. All of us. Has to do with morality. This thing about getting out of denial. One, you got to acknowledge the truth. We are a white supremacist nation, and we always have been. We have white supremacist institutions, culture, structures, power, psychology, everything, politics. Whitewashing is in everything. The media, education, history is whitewashed and biased. Education is whitewashed and biased. Entertainment is whitewashed and biased. I ain't saying black people are bad. We're all equal. We know this. Stop being defensive. Stop being judgmental. Stop being defensive. Stop being delusional. Get out of denial and face reality. Our culture's racist. Our white culture's racist. I ain't saying all white people are racist. I'm not saying that. But it's all that indifference. It's all that inaction. It's all that turn a blind fucking eye. That's the real fucking problem. Step up. Get out of indifference. Do something. Say something. Let's take our white America back. I love America and I love white America. Let's take it fucking back. Let's be proud of ourselves. I'm not proud of white America anymore. I used to be a fucking racist. Not proud of America anymore. Face your fear and face your greed. Once and for all. Take your fucking country back to what it should be, which means it's made for all people. Not just white people. Bye.
Now, this man here, he's telling you that he used to be a person that was a racist. He used to have hatred in his heart. Now he don't anymore. And he's seeing what's going on in this country and what's holding us back. He addressed the fear, the great fear of black people, especially the black man. You know, that fear is taught in the household. That fear is something that even as black people, we don't understand. We know about the fear. Trust me, we know it 100%. And when he talks about the police officers fearful and just shooting, it's just the same thing like a scared dog will bite you faster. That's usually what that is. Why is it that we're so feared? It don't matter if you are a criminal or you're not a criminal. You're still feared. Why? Because it's taught. And what are you afraid of? This man stating you're afraid of black people doing the exact same things that was done to us, which most black people don't even think like that.
True.
So I don't know where that come from, but this is the thing.
I got some white friends right now, not even playing, and I love them. Seriously. Everybody don't think like that. Okay? A lot of white people did us wrong. That's true. Dirty wrong. Black people done some wrong stuff too. Dirty wrong to their own people, their own color, and other people, the white people, to all kinds of people. But at the end of the day, we're going to get to the reality of what should be done. Shalom.
I guess it would be like me doing something to somebody else, and then they haven't done me nothing. I would kind of be concerned about that just a little bit. Like, oh, man, I know I've done these people wrong, or I know that karma will come back on me one day. Okay? And when the man said about the system that's set up, it is a system set up. We talked about that last night on the radio show. That system isn't the same playing field for everybody. You know, like some people say, well, you know, like on the job market, for instance, you got to be more educated, more qualified, speak better English, all this stuff that you got to have be 10 times better than a person who is a white person who don't even have none of that. And we've seen this many times. I've seen it many times in jobs. It's just a different playing field. Or you can't get away with the same thing or talk to the police a certain way versus maybe a white person. And I've seen some white people cuss cops out. But if you do it as a black person, you can get your head beat in or get yourself shot.
You want to go to jail?
There's all kind of differences in society is what this man is talking about. And getting mad about it, what this man is saying, is not refuting a word to what he said. Because we all know, black and white, what he said is true. Now, I had a young man write me an email, and maybe he watched this video. I got your email, and you were stating, what could you do to, you know, stop racism? Just be fair. That's all. And if someone is being racist, call them out on it. Say, hey, man, that's not cool. I don't agree with that sort of thing. You can keep that ignorance somewhere else. That's the best way to do it. And if everybody do that just within their own community and their own way, then you can put a stop to a lot of this stuff.
And the reality of truth is tell the truth for what it is as well. We can start with history, as he's spoken. Was whitewashed. We can talk about the religious systems. We can start with confessing and letting the people of Yahuwah go. Pharaohs, the children of the YAHUDIATH, the children of Yasharah, or Israel, Hebrews, Let's go to some more confessions. Yeah.
اليهود في وقتنا الحالي.
It says, do contemporary Jews have any relation to the ancient Israelites in terms of race?
لهم علاقة ببني إسرائيل في التاريخ القديم من ناحية العرق والجنس. يفترض أن
It is assumed that the ancient Israelites had certain physical characteristics.
القديم كانت لهم مواصفات جسمانية كطول الجسد.
Like the length and width of their bodies, the shape of their heads,
عرض الجسد وشكل الرأس ولون البشرة ولون الشعر ولون
and the color of their skin, their hair, and their eyes.
هذه المواصفات
These characteristics are assumed to always pass down from father to son,
إن الأبناء يولدوا دائما يتوارثون. اليهود الآن منهم
Jews today include the Negroes, the yellow-haired, and the blue-eyed.
منهم صاحب الشعر الأصفر ومنهم صاحب العيون الزرقاء. يعني تقريبا يتنوعوا.
In other words, they include a variety of human races.
بين أجناس البشر المختلفة. وبالتالي الحديث عن
Therefore, it is not true that the modern Jews are related to the ancient Israelites.
في العصر الحديث لهم علاقة ببني إسرائيل في التاريخ القديم. هذا ليس صحيح. الرابط الوحيد بين هؤلاء وبين بني إسرائيل في التاريخ القديم بعد السبي البابلي أو
After the Babylonian captivity, or even before it.
بالنسبة للذين كانوا يرتكبون
With regard to the people who generated crisis throughout history,
أو يسببون الأزمات التاريخية. الرابط هو الديانة.
Has to do with religion, not race.
وليس الرابط العرقي. لماذا يجد الدموية
Say, why are the Jews so bloodthirsty and racist?
والعنصرية؟ يبدو سبحان الله يبدو
It seems to be their innate character.
شيء فطري فيهم. لأستاذنا
Professor Rashad al-Shamhi published a book in the World of Science series
رشاد الشامي كتاب صدر عن سلسلة عالم معرفة اسمه الشخصية اليهودية
titled The Jewish Character and the Hostile Spirit.
روح اليهودية.
This book demonstrates
يؤكد الحقيقة على أن
how deeply the hostile spirit is embedded in this character.
الوانية موجودة بعمق داخل هذه الشخصية. ولا يعني أبتعد كثير.
It would be no exaggeration to say that the Quran noted this even earlier,
القرآن قبل ذلك أكد على هذا الأمر حينما تحدث عن قضية
when it talked about how they ignite civil strife and wars among people.
الفتن وإشعال الحروب ما بين الناس. فالأمر يبدو أنه يتعلق بالقتل.
This seems to be related to their nature. Psychological research is called for.
يحتاج.
All right. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that everything in the Quran is true, but there are some things that are in the Quran that line up with history and a true account. And even Arabs know that those white people over there in the fake Israel and Palestine area, they're liars. They're not the true Jews. They say that they are of Jewish descent or claim themselves to be Jews and the people of God, and they are not. They are liars. They are liars.
Drew sent me one of Glenn Beck's shows, the Founding Fathers things he does, and I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit just because I agree with some of what Glenn Beck says, but he's a little bit too much for me. But I started to watch it anyway, and it was about how black people in our history that had a lot to do with the way the founding of this country and what went on during the founding of this country have basically been eliminated from history books. And it did two things. It made me very emotional. Just because so many black people, including black people I know, only think that great things started with Martin Luther King, or, you know, I don't know how to put it. If anything in here comes across as insulting, it is not intended to be. This was just fascinating to me, not just because of the fact that these, like Frederick Douglass and other people, who of course their names escape me at this point, I'll put links up to this video, so if you want the information and the people's names, you can get it there. But just how important they were to the founding of this country and how easily it was to just destroy them. Or not destroy them, but make them irrelevant. It's sad. It's sad because that means there are many groups of black people that grew up only thinking their only history in this country was as being slaves. I'm sorry I'm looking all over the place, but I'm trying to gather my thoughts because this really got to me. But that's what most black people have been taught, is that up until they were freed as slaves, or not, excuse me, up until Martin Luther King and the fight for civil rights, that's when the fight for civil rights started, and that's really where a lot of black history started. I mean, I know people know about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, but the stuff as far as that was all stuff with black people fighting against the government, or fighting against slavery is what I mean, fighting against the government. Whereas these were stories about black people actually wanting to be Americans and being proud of being Americans. And that's not something I ever remember hearing. And I can understand how a group of people, and I'll say it one more time, I don't mean this in any way to be insulting, but I can understand how if I was a member of a group of people, that the only thing I was ever taught as far as my relation to America was that I was a slave and I had to fight just to be treated like a human being, I wouldn't like that country very much. But if I knew that there were black people that after they were freed wanted to be Americans and were proud to be Americans and worked for this country and worked to do great things in this country, I think that would change some people's feelings. Now, it wouldn't change the perception of the way people are treating them now, and that's a whole other video. But it's had an impact on me, and I'm a white person. Let me put it that way. I'm a white dude, in case you haven't noticed. And just hearing that, you know, Abraham Lincoln was meeting with some of these black people and asking their opinions. I never heard that. The only thing I knew about Abraham Lincoln having to do with black people for the most part was owning slaves and freeing slaves. That is on a totally different level than actually talking to black people on an equal level and asking for help. That was just fascinating information to me. And it makes me understand why, if someone intentionally took this out of history books, if they did that, why they would, because it makes black people feel separate from this country. And maybe that's what they wanted when they took this information out, was to make black people not feel like part of the country and to make white people not feel like black people were part of the country. That they were just this group of people that were slaves that got freed and just had to be integrated, instead of a group of people that really wanted to be Americans. Like I said, this obviously got to me. It got to me, it made me very emotional. But I'm trying to keep, you see, I just say the word emotional, and emotions come up. Because it's just messed up. And I feel bad not having known this. It's important. I'm trying to be a better person, as everyone knows, but I also want to be knowledgeable about my own history and about my own country and why I love my country and why I like to be an American. And part of that is that a lot of the people that were brought here as slaves when they were freed decided, or were the descendants of people that were brought here as slaves, whatever, that decided they wanted to be Americans. That there were actually white people back in the day that worked with them. It wasn't just slaves versus white people, or former slaves versus white people, which is the way I feel history was presented to me when I was growing up. I think that's all I need to say. Once again, I will put up links to these videos. Anyone that watches this and can't stand Glenn Beck, I don't really like him a lot either. But trust me, the information, and maybe you already went, maybe you're more educated than me and you knew everything he's going to say. Fine. I didn't know it. And it was fascinating. So once again, this is the third ending. I feel like this is like Lord of the Rings or something. I'm going to put up links, and that's that. Great videos, great information, and great to know that black people played a more important part to American history than just what I learned in school.
But who else are the real Shemites? There are other anti-Zionist, non-Ashkenazi, Torah-keeping Jews worldwide that are the true Shemites, just like the Yemenite Jews and the black African Shemites. I most probably shouldn't go here, but I will anyway. You see, after the destruction of the temple, yes, many of the Jews, the poor Jews, remained in the land, but there was a migration as well of the more affluent Jews to Yemen and to other parts of Africa. You see, the black African Shemites were actually then taken away in slave ships. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And who were the owners of these slave ships? Who were the biggest slavers in the 16th century? The Ashkenazi were the biggest slavers in the 16th.
That's those people over there in Jerusalem right now. Bloodthirsty, blood-sucking, vampiric bastards. House of Rothschild. A lot of them.
17th century. Going into the 18th century. You see, Ashkenazi slaving was huge. This is from, I have to be careful when I say this, so my sources, it's always best to go with Jewish sources, right? Because you just trod on a bunch of toes, so we'll go with the Jewish sources. There's a ton of sources out there. I'll stick with the Jewish ones because that's just safer. The Jewish scholar Jonathan Shorshak says this: Jewish merchants routinely possessed enormous numbers of slaves temporarily before selling them off. If a slave auction fell on a Jewish festival, it was postponed due to lack of buyers and sellers. The Jews of Suriname gave their slave plantations Hebrew names such as Machanaim, Nachamu, and Goshen. Rabbi Herbert Bloom adds that the slave trade was one of the most important Jewish activities. In 1694, Jews owned 9,000 African Shemites. Jewish slaving is in fact confirmed by the Jewish Encyclopedia. So, in the days that we live,
I freaking love white people, man. Freaking love ya. Man, especially these guys that be telling the truth, yo. People don't understand. Hi, Mom. How you guys doing? It's such an emotional moment.
there's nothing more important than this Malki.
And, Shemite color. Just know that.
Message to the true Shemites. Because this Melchizedek message of the true Shemites is the solution. It is the solution to the Palestinian problem. It is the solution to the Black Lives Matter that is being fomented by the synagogue of Satan. It is the solution to racial tensions, segregation. It is all.
Mind you, he said synagogues of Satan.
The synagogue of Satan's plot for Yahweh's people to fight amongst themselves.
Wait a freaking minute. This white guy said Yahuwah. He ain't say Jesus. I'm looking at white Jesus. Jesus ain't white. His name is Yahuwah. They gave their plantations Hebrew names. Y'all show love to use our culture, our language, our style. Copperman. But y'all hate us so much. Those of y'all who do by the thousands. Why, white people? Why? I love this guy. Man. Speak, white man, speak.
That is ridiculous. But that is what they want, so that we keep our minds off of them.
Let me go back a little bit.
So that we keep our minds off of them as the true of the synagogue of Satan's plot for Yahweh's people to fight amongst themselves based upon the color of our skin. That is ridiculous. But that is what they want, so that we keep our minds off of them as the true slavers of Yahweh's people. When we all realize who's behind this racial and political fermentation, the synagogue of Satan, and when we join the priesthood together as Joseph's coat, we're victorious. Then we're victorious over the New World Order slavers, their Luciferic, Levitical perversion. You see, they're obsessed with blood. They're obsessed.